Well, hi, everyone. I'm Joyce, a grateful believer in Christ, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about our speaker tonight. Her name is Pam. She's a wife. She's a mother. She's an author. Yeah, she's famous. One of the main things she's done, or one of the things she's done, is a 12-step coloring book. So if you're interested in that, you can talk to her after. But I was there when Pam came to celebrate recovery, and she looked like a well put together, attractive person. Maybe it was that mask she had on. Kind of like all of us, we come in with our mask because we don't want people to know what's really inside. Thinking, if you know, you won't like me. But let me tell you, Pam has come a long way, and Celebrate Recovery has helped her with healing and hope, and she is really digging deep. So without further ado, let's welcome Pam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pam. Joyce is so lovely to introduce me, but actually a little bit of bad news. She didn't have all of her facts. I am actually fine. Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm fine. I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I'm fine. Everything's fine. My husband's fine. My son is fine. My pets are fine. See, don't we look fine? I would be more fine if I could make this a little, oh, there we go. There we go. All right. Well, someone in the house does keep throwing up on the floor, but it's usually on the hardwood floor, which is easy to clean. So that's fine. And they do sometimes throw up on my yoga mat, but I have Clorox wipes, so that's fine. It's really fine. And yes, actually, my husband was in a freak car accident Friday night at Detweiler's. A man was driving his red Cadillac, and he confused his brake pedal for the gas, so he rocketed backwards out of his parking spot, over the curb, and then flipped up in the air and hit this car that was sitting right next to my husband's and slammed that car into our car. But we're fine. No one got hurt. Our car was probably not even totaled. We can still drive it if we have to. And really, if you look at the bright side, we're lucky. Because if my husband had come out of the store just 20 seconds earlier, he would have been killed. So I guess we are officially grateful. I mean, it is our second green Kia that's been in an accident in the last year, but it's really fine. The first one was totaled in June, so we got a newer model. So it's fine. It's really fine. And my son is totally fine. He's 14, which can be tough. And he does go to a very expensive private school for kids with special needs. But again, that's a blessing. Okay. So while he is having a few problems this week, but that's also fine because we got him into the doctor very quickly. And the doctor added another medication to help balance my son's moods and to control his disabilities. So it's really all good. I mean, 4 medicines, that's not that much, right? No big deal. I mean, they are going to do some psychological testing, but we're fine with that too. We knew this was a possibility when we adopted him, and of course we are over the moon in love with him. So for real, this has to be fine. And since neither one of those things actually happened to me, you know, with the car or with the testing, because in recovery we learn to keep the focus on ourselves. It didn't happen to me, so I am fine. I'm fine. fine. Well, I did quit my job 2 weeks ago, but that was actually also for the best. I mean, it was a fine job, and my crazy controlling boss was also fine. So, I basically left a perfectly good job for no particular reason. And so now I can concentrate on moving forward and being even more fine. Wait, what's that? My family of origin? Oh, they are better than fine. My mom and dad have been married for over 50 years. Everyone loves my dad, especially the people at church. They think he's hysterical. And people really love my mom, too. They think she's nice. Now, my 40-year-old brother does live in their attic. Well, okay, and to be honest, that's not really fine. My dad hates it, and he's furious with my mom for allowing it, but she promised that he would be out before Christmas of 2018. Now that it's April, my mom is starting to think this is a little less fine. But if my 40-year-old brother follows her simple plan, which is simple. Okay, first he's going to get off the methadone. Then he's going to get his job back at the nursing home where he was arrested 5 years ago for stealing drugs. And y'all, this is true. Like, I'm not making this up. She really believes this. And in fact, he could work there now until he gets the nursing license back as a dishwasher. So if all of that happens, he will be able to move out, and then they will all be fine for happily ever after. And my brother Brad, he might really be the most fine of all of us because he has his own apartment and he has a great job. Now, I don't know if he's still going to meetings. I did get a little suspicious the last time we FaceTimed because I saw some bottles in his room. But I don't know if he's really drinking again. The bottles were probably just there. And if he is drinking, he's not drinking so much that the seizures have started again. So that's fine, right? I mean, yes, I did practically raise him, so sometimes I worry, but that's just my codependency, and I go to meetings for that, so that's fine. Sure, every once in a while it does hurt that I don't hear from him, but I have to detach. That's a recovery word. I have to detach and let him live his own life. Again, keep the focus on myself. If he is drinking again, it's not really happening to me. I am fine. So I think that about sums it up. I'm fine. I don't have any problems. I just go to 3 or more recovery meetings a week because I guess I'm happy. That totally checks out, right? That's why we're all here. We're just so happy. Now, wait a second. What? My childhood? Oh, no. No. We don't really need to talk about that because I'm fine right now, and it was so long ago. And I grew up in a different time where parents screamed and yelled and slapped and hit their kids to make them mind. It probably happened to everyone in my class. And I think it's quite normal to hate yourself when you're growing up. I mean, come on, puberty, that's really tough. Sure, I did try to kill myself, but it was only smothering myself with a pillow. So, I mean, that's really weak. That would have never worked. So, does that even count? I don't think so. And since it didn't count, and I'm here today, I can tell you once again, I am fine. Furthermore, my dad quit drinking before I was even born. I mean, he never went to meetings. He quit cold turkey. And yes, addiction is a family disease that affects generations, whether the loved one is drinking or not. But I think I've proven to you today that we are all fine. And it's probably because we never talk about it. Except that I am not really fine. Claudia Black, I don't know if you all have ever heard of Claudia Black, but she's done a lot of research in addiction. And she explains to not own your reality or not speak your truth is the ultimate act of betrayal. That's a good one. That one hit me really hard about 3 or 4 weeks ago when I really did think I was fine and I was planning a different lesson. So what is my truth? Because, obviously everything I've told you isn't the truth. To be honest, I've spent so much time lying to myself and everyone else that I don't even know the truth. Denial is one of my favorite drugs of choice. Denial keeps me safe from life's harsh realities, but it has a dangerous side effect. Like on our bottles of pills, it says warning. Denial should have a warning. People who use that drug almost always lose their serenity. A few weeks ago, I found this lie detector test, and I thought it would be a great idea for us to all take it together. Okay? So there's only 10 questions, but each question has multiple questions. So no overachieving. The highest score you can get is 10. Okay? So, and if you want to just jot it down, what we're keeping track of is our yes answers. So question number 1, while you were growing up during your first 18 years of life, did a parent or other adult in the household often swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you? Or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? If any of those are an answer to a yes, that's 1 yes, okay? Number 2, did a parent or other adult in the household often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you? Or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured? Number 3, did an adult or person at least 5 years older than you ever touch you, or have you touched their body in a sexual way, or actually try to have any type of sex with you? Number 4, do you often feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were important or special? Or your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other? Number 5, did you often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, and had no one to protect you? Or your parents were too drunk or high to take care of you or take you to the doctor if you needed it? Number 6, was a biological parent ever lost to you through divorce, abandonment, or other reason? Number 7, this is kind of geared towards violence towards women, but we all know that men are also victims of violence. So I changed the wording a little bit. Was a parent or a step-parent often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or had something thrown at her or him? Or sometimes or often kicked, bitten, hit with a fist, or hit with something hard, or ever repeatedly hit over at least a few minutes or threatened with a gun or a knife? Number 8, did you live with anyone who was a problem drinker or alcoholic, or who used street drugs or illegal prescription drugs? Number 9, was a household member depressed or mentally ill, or did a household member attempt suicide? And number 10, did a household member, which could also be a sibling, go to prison? So let's take a minute to add up your score. Remember, each yes gets 1 point. And just to kind of not put you on the spot, I got a 6. But I really would like, if you feel comfortable, I'd like for us to see that we're not alone. So does everybody have their score added up? And this is kind of just a nice visual summary, because it's real easy to say, well, they didn't mean to hit me, or everybody got hit. This is just a nice little reality check, and it's a nice summary. And so like each one of those little pictures kind of ties back to one of the questions. But if you feel comfortable, I'd love for you to stand up and we'll just kind of blanketly share our scores. So anyone who had at least a 1, would you be willing to stand up? A 1, yes. At least 1, yes. Stand up. Oh, yeah, we're going to keep going. We're going 1 or more. If you have at least, if you got at least 1. If you got at least 1 on this test, stand up. I want you to see you're not alone. If you got at least a 1. Okay. Now, if you have 2 or more, stay standing. So if your score is 2 or more, stay standing. If your score is 3 or more, stay standing. If your score is 4 or more, stay standing. Yeah, that's what I thought. If your score is 5 or more, stay standing. 6 or more, 7 or more, 8 or more, 9 or more, 10 or more. All right. We're not really clapping because it's good, but we're clapping because we got it. All right. Yes. We passed that test. No, it's not good. It's sad and it's hard. I want you to know this test is actually based on a very scientific study. This isn't just like flu counseling, make you feel better. This is based on a scientific study. And before I tell you what the test results mean, according to NIDA, which is the National Institute of Drug Abuse, 2/3 of the people in treatment for drug abuse report being abused or neglected as children. 2/3. That's a lot. And then the next statistic, more than 1/3 of adolescents with a report of abuse or neglect will have a substance use disorder before their 18th birthday. They are 3 times as likely as those without a report of abuse or neglect. All right, so a lot of us in here struggle with addiction, and I want you to just kind of take this information and give yourself some grace. What happened to us in childhood has a huge impact on why and how we try to deal with the pain. Okay? So the test calculates your Adverse Childhood Experiences score, ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And they're responsible for a big chunk of workplace absenteeism and for cost in healthcare, emergency response, mental health, and criminal justice. Studies show that childhood adversity contributes to most of our major chronic health, mental health, economic health, and social health issues. On a population level, it doesn't matter which 4, it's just talking about 4 right now, which 4 ACEs a person has. The harmful consequences are the same. The brain cannot distinguish one type of toxic stress from another. It's all toxic and it all has the same impact. So for example, people with an ACE score of 4 are twice as likely to be smokers, and they're 7 times more likely to be an alcoholic. So this stuff matters, what happened to us. Having an ACE score of 4 increases the risk of emphysema or chronic bronchitis by nearly 400%, and attempted suicide by 1,200%, which I'm recovering from bronchitis now. My score was 6. People with an ACE score of 6 or higher are at risk for their lifespan to be shortened by 20 years. Now we're really lucky, we're fine. Don't worry, we're fine because we live in Sarasota and that increases our lifespan by 10 years. So don't worry. People with high ACE scores are more likely to be violent, have more marriages, more broken bones, more drug prescriptions, more depression, and more autoimmune diseases. Yeah, it's Great. So let's start over and let me tell you the truth about who I really am. I am Pam. I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. That part is the truth. And my life isn't fine. It's unmanageable. I put myself last and not in a good way. I am exhausted and I'm burnt out. I grew up in a toxic family dynamic that had thousands of rules, but the most important 3 were these. Don't talk. Don't trust. Don't feel. At this point in my recovery, I'm learning to break those rules, but it's hard. I don't want to tell you or even tell myself the truth. I don't want to talk about how tired and scared I am. I don't want to feel my feelings of hopelessness, anger, loneliness, and sorrow. And since I don't trust anyone to help me, I solve all of these problems on my own, or I'm going to die trying. All of these rules don't just apply to people. I've also used these dysfunctional rules to keep myself safe from God. Because how can you trust God? Why would he let those things happen? That's the kind of thing that dysfunction tells you, right? Recovery teaches me to look at my motive. What's my motive? Why do I behave like this? I've been in recovery for almost 4 years, and I still go back to these same core dysfunctional tools. So why? To get better and keep recovering, we have to get to the root cause of our dysfunction. My family of origin is a mess. My brother he's really sick with the methadone. I know it helps a lot of people, and I was for it at first, but something's not right with him and with this dose and with his recovery. It's really scary. He's only a shell of a person. My mom is so caught up in my brother's life that she has no extra energy to even be concerned about me and my family. But even if she did, I wouldn't want her to be involved in my life because she's bossy and overbearing. I learned to be a codependent from her. I learned from the best. My dad has COPD, and my mom and my brother still smoke in the house. My mom hates my dad. My dad loves her and refuses to leave. And moving 1,000 miles away from all of them wasn't far enough. And a lot of times I don't feel like I have a family. I was abused as a kid. Nothing I ever did was ever good enough, but I kept trying to be perfect to avoid being screamed at, hit, or worse. My parents still feel like they can yell at me, even if I'm not doing what they expect, and it's over crazy, stupid little stuff. I am an adult, but because of my childhood dysfunction, they still treat me like a child, and I still act like I am. So here's some more truth. I am an adult child of an alcoholic. This means that when I was around 6 years old, I quit being a child and I had to grow up. My brother John was born, and I had to start taking care of his physical and emotional needs. I helped feed him, change his diapers, play with him, give him a bath. I also had to protect him from our parents' anger and abuse, and I had to give him all the love he wasn't getting from them. So basically, I'm physically 45 with an emotional maturity of a 6-year-old. When the going gets tough, I turn to my toolbox to find these coping skills. Running away, pretending everything's fine, and stress eating. I revert back to 6-year-old little Pam. She's a really good little girl who knows how to make angry people calm. She's terrified of getting yelled at. She doesn't believe anyone loves her, and she thinks God is a big angry man, like in The Wizard of Oz before we found out he was nice. Little Pam doesn't think she'll ever be smart enough or good enough to be loved, accepted, and successful. And when she's sad or scared, she has to have ice cream. Without recovery, these are the only coping skills I have, and they're not enough to raise a special needs child, stand up to abusive and domineering parents, or even speak up when I have a different opinion or idea. I go to these meetings like my life depends on it because my life depends on it. Before recovery, I had no hope. I was just living until I died. I wasn't suicidal, but I would regularly pray for death. I didn't think I would ever have anything good or deserve anything good. I tried everything: antidepressants, counseling, praying. But without recovery, nothing helped. Romans 12:2 teaches us that recovery is a renewing of our minds. I love it when I can find the slogans in the Bible. I found that there. And it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. With an amazing predictability, many adult children of alcoholics grow up to be addicted or marry an addicted or compulsive person. Many adult children use a combination of drugs, food, sex, and relationships to harm themselves emotionally and physically. I am addicted to people. The more unhealthy, the better. This is codependency. I am also addicted to work, sugar, and coffee, but the coffee is untouchable. I need to have the coffee. Why didn't I turn to drugs or alcohol like my brothers? It's simple. I am terrified of getting in trouble. My dad's mission in life was to keep all of his kids safe from alcoholism. And so I knew that if I drank, I would go straight to hell. I mean, I was easily controlled by fear. My brothers didn't get that message, but I got it, and I still don't drink to this day, and that's largely why I'm too afraid. I would never be able to let my parents see me drink alcohol. Again, it's a 6-year-old trapped in a 45-year-old body. So, how do I get better? How do we all get better? We break the rules. Remember, the rules are don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel. So, in April of 2015, 4 years ago, almost to this day, my husband's sister, Cayenne, was dying from cancer. She was only 39, and she was my best friend. This was an unbearable loss. During this time, my crazy friend Amy was giving her testimony at CR. Amy was always posting stuff on Facebook about how great her life was and how much she loved Celebrate Recovery, and she had reinvented herself and was constantly happy. It was actually annoying, but I was finally broke enough to try anything. Once I started going to meetings, I found other people who were living with horrible problems, yet experiencing peace and even joy. I heard the entire Serenity Prayer and learned for the first time that God wanted me to be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with Him in the next. I wanted what they had. Because I am a people-pleasing rule follower, I quickly got a sponsor. My first sponsor was amazing. I got to see her faith and recovery in action. She challenged me to break another rule by starting to trust Jesus. And she would not let it go. Her first challenge to me was, what's one thing I can turn over to Him? And that's my challenge to you today. What is one thing you can turn over to Jesus today? One thing you can completely let Him handle. I was really jaded and skeptical when I first started out, and I was also frozen by my anxiety. So making decisions like shopping for groceries or clothes or anything was almost impossible. I couldn't even drive myself to the store. So I boldly decided to trust Jesus with my skincare. Because, it's like a skincare, and there's so many choices, and it's so expensive, and do I need anti-aging or moist? It's guys, it's really overwhelming, okay? And I didn't want to spend the money for it. So, Jesus and I are going to do skincare. Well, at the time I was working for a funeral home, and a few days later, one of our families gave us a generous tip. People actually almost never tip at funeral homes. But this family gave us a generous tip, and my cut of the tip was $100. So Jesus and I went to buy moisturizer. Then I trusted Him with another problem. I needed new shoes. Shopping was really overwhelming for me. I had a lot of anxiety, and I needed a bike. And so that's how I learned to trust Jesus, with these small, simple, trivial things. One problem, one day at a time. That one day at a time, that really does work. Over time, I learned that God wasn't the judge and punisher I thought He was. And so I want to just read you just a little bit. If you're not familiar with the Bible, Like, please bear with me, because the Bible's so big. I'm like, where do we start? And how can we get to the good stuff without finding that God hates us? Because there's like a lot of rules in there. So Ephesians, if you're new, is a good place to start. Ephesians chapter 1, and I'm going to start with verse 3. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in the heavenly realms with every spiritual blessing in Christ. For he chose us in him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight. We were all chosen. Doesn't say just you, Patty, she's good. She gets to come. Everyone is chosen, okay? He chose us in him to be, he predestined us for adoption to sonship through Jesus Christ in accordance with his pleasure and goodwill, to the praise of his glorious grace, which he has freely given us in the one he loves. In him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, in accordance with the riches of God's grace that he lavished on us. I don't know about you all, but I was not lavished with anything as a child. But as a child of God, he lavishes riches and grace on us. In him we are also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of his will, in order that we who were first to put on our hope in Christ might be for the praise and his glory. There's one more thing I wanted to see there, but no, okay, I think that's good. So the short story is God loves us. Did y'all get that? You can read it at home. You'll do a better job than I did. All right, so I have to start trusting God. I have to break that rule of don't trust. And then the third rule is to feel. I have to start feeling. My current sponsor, who is also amazing, has been working with me for almost 9 months on feeling my feelings. So I'll text her with a problem, and she'll say, how does that make you feel? Always. And then if I don't know, we have to figure it out. And then usually I do know, and then I have to write an angry letter. And why? Because numbing my feelings is another one of my drugs of choice. I can numb on my own. I don't need a drink or a pill to shove those feelings way down deep. And I can keep following these 3 dysfunctional family rules. Don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel. But I can't follow them and enjoy serenity. So I kind of have to choose. I'm at the fork in the road. To have a different outcome in life, I have to do something different. And so the first thing I did was accept principle 2. Earnestly believe that God exists, that I matter to him. We all matter to him. And that he has the power to help me recover. This is April. This is the 4th month of the year, and our CR lessons will eventually talk about taking a fearless and moral inventory. And I want to add one more word to that. Let's take a blameless moral inventory. Let's tell the truth without being afraid of breaking the family rules or giving up deep family secrets. To get better and heal from our root problems, we have to tell the truth about what hurts us. Principle 4 challenges us to openly examine and confess my faults to myself, to God, and to someone I trust. We're only as sick as our secrets. So who's ready to get better?